My name is Liz Talbert, and I'm the Executive Director at the Alliance for Safe Kids. In light of our current situation, our 10th annual Save a Life Forum had to be postponed, and we made the decision to continue to provide the community with valuable resources and information virtually. So I would like to welcome you to the third edition of the Save a Life webinar series. This session will focus on achieving wellness this back-to-school season and will be presented by Crystal and David Zeikowitz. Crystal and David are members of the Yorktown community, and combined, they bring years of professional experience to this presentation, as Crystal is a licensed clinical social worker with a master's in education, and David is a credentialed alcoholism and substance abuse counselor. But before I turn things over to Crystal and David, I'd like to share a few housekeeping items. The webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you, along with the resources that Crystal and David have provided, and a quick survey that will help us in planning future presentations. The chat room that you see on the right of your screen will be set to private once the presentation begins, and you may add any questions that you have there during the webinar. I now have the pleasure of introducing Crystal and David Zeikowitz.
There we are.
Okay.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So again, my name is Crystal Zeikowitz. I am a licensed clinical social worker with master's in special education and childhood education. I spent 15 plus years working as an educational consultant with children with autism. After that, spent 8 years providing therapeutic services to women and children at a local domestic violence agency. And then after that, for 5 years, I worked at a local hospital as an intake coordinator and as a social worker working with substance abuse and mental health issues. David?
Hi, everybody. My name is Dave Zeikowitz, and I am it's called a CASAC, which is a credentialed alcohol and substance abuse counselor. I've been working in the field for 8 years, and I currently work in a program which is a residential program. We treat patients who are struggling with co-occurring mental health and substance abuse issues, adults 19 years old and up. So that's where my experience is. And I just wanted to also thank the Alliance for Kids and Liz and Patrick for all the work that they do and all the work in setting this up. I think this forum is fantastic to, an interactive connection with the community to get some information and knowledge out there. These are very challenging times for everybody. So we're really excited to be here tonight and to share our thoughts with you guys. And, we're going to want to be, I like to be face-to-face and do things interactively, so it's a little bit challenging, but we'll get through it. We'd like to hear from you guys, so don't be afraid to ask questions. We certainly would love to hear from you. Before we even get into the presentation, I do just want to give everybody an overview of wellness, the concept of wellness, a comprehensive concept of what wellness is. I can tell you what wellness, wellness is not just about the absence of disease or illness. Wellness is about, how do we feel in all aspects of our lives? How well are we? And how do we go about achieving, continued and additional wellness in all aspects of our lives moving forward? In our society, there are two different models or two different approaches in our society. You have the medical model and you have the wellness model. At Blue Sky Counseling Associates, we are more focused on the wellness model. The medical model, you guys are all familiar with that one, right? We wait until someone gets really, really sick, and then we pound them with medications, surgeries, and all that stuff, right? So the wellness model is more focused on knowledge, prevention, and resilience to disease and illness. We want to prevent that disease and illness from manifesting itself. So that's what we're focused on. Okay, so as we move forward, we'll go to the next slide here. That is our contact information, as we can see. That's our mission statement, which is also on our website if you want to see that. And here's our first slide, which is basically a rhetorical question. How has COVID-19 affected your life? Well, it has affected everyone's lives, whether you want to believe it or not or accept it or not. Everybody has been affected by COVID, right? There's no question about that. But people are experiencing COVID in their own unique ways, in their own individualized ways, with themselves individually and through their families. So as we move forward in this presentation, we are going to present as much as we possibly can in a comprehensive way, and we're hoping that we address some of your main issues that you're looking to do. And if not, like I said, certainly ask questions, or you can contact us offline when the presentation is over. Okay, and we're going to move on to the next slide.
Thank you, David. So we're going to talk about the cost of COVID. Unfortunately, there are many. There's mental health. There's been reports of increased anxiety and depression, physical health, weight loss, weight gain, people getting sick, tired, fear of getting sick because they've lost their job and now they don't have insurance, financial stress, job loss. How are we going to pay for food? How are we going to pay our rent? Will we end up out on the street? Am I going to find another job? Education disruption. I'm sure a lot of parents out there are kind of pulling double duty. You're doing your job at home and you are now teachers. The homeschooling, I know I've heard from a lot of parents that this has been quite challenging, trying to balance both. And from the children's point of view, they all want to be at school. They want to be with their friends. They want to go to recess. I actually had one young student tell me that he really didn't appreciate school, and he never thought he'd actually say that he wanted to be back in school until he didn't have it anymore. So the kids are really, they're missing their peers. Next, we have family dynamic strain, everyone being at home, locked in together, getting on each other's nerves. That's certainly very stressful. Racial disparity, we are hearing, that there's more Black and Latino people with COVID and the lack of resources available to them and the treatment that they're receiving. We have social disruption, can't go to the gyms, couldn't go to the movies, eating out, sports, just getting away and getting out and going to gatherings. Substance abuse, because of the depression and the anxiety, some people have turned to self-medicating, unfortunately. And then there's also the boredom aspect. With domestic violence and child abuse, unfortunately, there has been an increase in both of these. Again, a lot of stress in the home. The children are home. There's no real oversight. So there's unfortunately been an increase in incidences. Death and grief. Certainly, people are losing their loved ones, their friends, and in most, if not all cases, aren't able to be there for them when they're in the hospital, which is, something none of us wants. We want to be there for our loved ones when they're ill. And then finally, the loss of freedom. We can't go anywhere. We can't do anything. We're trapped. So these are a lot of significant loss that we have all experienced during this COVID. And with the news every night saying that, this could go on through 2021, it's wearing on people. And so hopefully, we'll be able to offer some tips on ways to make things a little bit better in terms of all of us getting through this. David?
Okay, so we are now moving to the next slide here, which is unhealthy thought and behavioral patterns as a result of COVID. For me, it's about fear. There is a lot of uncertainty and unknown out there about what's going on. Not just what's going on today, but what went on in the past and what's going to go on in the future. That uncertainty, that fear of the unknown, it creates a lot of what I call angst. And we're going to be talking a lot about that on the slides to come, which is all of that angst and what we're going to do about it. So as we see here on the slide, we can take a look at these, and what would contribute to having somebody's thought patterns become unhealthy or, negative or distorted, right? And just thinking about these things, it's like I have to juggle work and, school at home. And how are we going to do that? How am I going to work at my job and then make sure my kids are online and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing? It's very stressful. Will we be homeless, right? I mean, people are struggling to pay rent. People are struggling, to pay mortgage. So that's certainly in there. Will I ever go back to school? Will we ever get back to normal again, right? And if we do, is it safe? And am I going to have to wear a mask and, and all these things, right? So I know some of you are going back to school. I know there's some hybrids out there, with a couple of days in school, a couple of days at home. That's also very stressful. That's not easy either, Everything is disrupted. Normal schedules, normal patterns, normal things that we do. And, sometimes it's challenging to adjust to it. And that creates that unhealthy thought. Will I get it? I mean, isn't that the biggest question, right? Oh, that's the biggest fear. It's out there, and we are, if you're careful and you go and you wear masks and you do all those things, right? And if you do get it, how serious will it be? Will I be affected? Will it really? Because some people get it and they don't really, get too many symptoms. Some people don't get any symptoms, but some people do get really sick. So what will happen if I actually do get it? Or what will happen for, if you're a child, what will happen if my parents get it? And what will happen if something happens to them? What's going to happen to me? Thinking will never end. I think we touched on that. Is where is the end to this thing? And we don't really know. That's that fear factor right there. And then thinking, no, it never will happen to me, which can also be a big problem, because then what are we going to do? We're probably going to do a lot of risky things out there, right? We're going to put ourselves in a lot of high-risk situations because we think we're invincible. It's not going to catch us. I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm good to go. I'm going to go out there and do my thing. And we see some of that's going on out there on the college campuses and in schools. People are getting this, especially young people, so we have to be careful. Who should I listen to? Who should I trust? Well, we know that there's a lot of mixed messages out there. And that in and of itself can create a lot of angst and anxiety. Who to listen to? What should I even put on the news? The news is so stressful these days. They just, so that becomes a problem. Hope, losing hope or becoming hopelessness and or losing having a meaning or a purpose in life. Losing a job, having to stay at home and not knowing what to do with ourselves, not being able to go out and play with our friends. Not being able to go out to dinner or go to a concert or play basketball. All of our normal activities are stopped. So we can get into that mode where we're losing a lot of hope and losing purpose and meaning. And that's not a good place to be when we're not waking up every day with a meaning or a purpose to move forward. Okay, so let's move off the dread of this slide and move forward to consequences of unhealthy thought patterns. This is my slide, right?
It is.
Alrighty then. Okay, so consequences, and of course we've talked a lot about this stuff. Anxiety, depression, isolation, stress, boredom, increase of substance use, excessive reliance on technology, lack of structure. Like I said again, when we're in normal operation, there's a structure. I get up, I get dressed, I take a shower, I get ready, I brush my teeth, I eat breakfast, I get in on a bus, I go to school, I see my friends, I have my schedule for the day, I have after school activities, I come home, and for, adults, I get in my car, I go to work, so we need to replace that lack of structure, and we can do that. We're going to talk about coping skills. How do we do with that in a couple of slides further down. I want to talk a little bit about, some obstacles, because we do, we want to change, if we're experiencing a lot of these unhealthy thought patterns and unhealthy things that are going on, we do want to change that, but we also have to recognize that there are some obstacles to change that. Stigma is one of the biggest obstacles when it comes to mental health and substance abuse, and many of the things that we're talking about here. It can be a real obstacle to change, right? And there's a stigma out there that, I don't want to be that person that has depression and has anxiety or has a drinking problem, because then what are they going to think of me? And that stigma, that can prevent us from getting the help that we need, right? So we're going to work on some things to help you guys overcome that stigma, so you can actually, pride is another obstacle. Asking for help is a sign of weakness. I can't ask for help. We have to take care of this on our own. So we need to find a way to overcome those obstacles so that we can reach out to the resources that we need that are going to help us deal with this stuff. Other thing, Crystal had mentioned grief and loss, and I just wanted to touch a little bit on that. It's not just about if you're losing somebody to death, right? We've lost, and Crystal touched on this, we've lost a lot, right? We've lost going to work or going to a concert or going out to dinner, or, that's a lot of loss going on there. So that can create a lot of this angst that we're talking about: anxiety, depression, frustration. Also, a lack of social connection. And I'm saying, we can get that connection on our social media and through our technology, but it's not the same. And we know it's not the same. Getting out there and getting those play dates and those soccer games and going to the movies and going out to, that social connection is really big for healthy growth and development. And we are missing that. We're lacking that. So a little bit more about this distorted thinking, guys. So what happens is if our thinking, because of all these things that are going on, if our thinking becomes negative and distorted, right, what happens is we start to see life and life events through a distorted lens. And when we see life events through a distorted lens, then life outcomes also become negative and distorted. So what we want to do is we want to start to address the thinking part. We have to change our thinking. We have to challenge our distorted and negative thinking, and we have to start to change that and replace it with more rational and positive thinking so we can get better life outcomes. So that's a little bit about that. The other thing about, for kids that, might be thinking, that they're taking classes online at home, that distance learning, or you might be questioning, am I getting the maximum potential out of my learning? Is this really the best thing for me? So we can go on about this, and I don't want to harp on the negatives, but we do have to be aware of all of the things that are out there that are going to create a lot of this these negative consequences for us. Okay, I think we're ready to move to the next slide.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, to follow up with the consequences of the negative thought patterns, we're going to look at anxiety and depression. As I had mentioned before, reporting shows that there has been an increase in anxiety and depressive disorders. So as you can see on the slide, we've listed just some things to look for in terms of anxiety, feeling nervous, having trouble breathing, feeling like you've got an elephant sitting on your chest, sweating, trembling, feeling weak or tired, having trouble sleeping, having difficulty controlling worry, having the urge to avoid things that trigger anxiety. Regarding depression, feelings of sadness, tearfulness, hopelessness, as David talked about, angry outbursts, irritability, over small matters, loss of interest or pleasure in most normal activities, either sleeping too much or not sleeping enough, lack of energy, things seem to take more effort, getting out of bed, brushing our teeth, taking a shower. It just all seems to to take a lot of energy to do these things. Reduced appetite or increased eating. Agitation, restlessness, slowed speaking, body movements, feelings of worthlessness or guilt, fixating on the past, failures. Again, it talks about, as we talked about, the job loss, and the things that we've lost, in general. Trouble thinking or concentrating, frequent or recurrent thoughts of death or suicidal thoughts, and unexplained physical problems such as back pains or headaches. Now, just to kind of narrow that down a little bit, to speak specifically of children, in preschoolers, what you want to look for are things like thumb sucking, bedwetting, clinging to parents, sleep disturbances, loss of appetite, fear of the dark, regression in behavior and withdrawal. For those elementary school children, you're looking at irritability, aggressiveness, clinginess, nightmares, school avoidance, poor concentration, and withdrawal from activities and friends. Adolescents, sleeping and eating disturbances, agitation, increased in conflicts, physical complaints, delinquent behavior, and poor concentration. So these are all of the things to, just keep an eye out for as we're moving forward, in this time of COVID. And if you certainly notice someone you love, a friend, a neighbor, and you start to see these behaviors, occurring in a pattern, or for an extended amount of time, it definitely would be a time to reach out, to offer some assistance, to, call a professional, and get some input, to help out, as we go through this. So now David is going to take us on the upswing and the more positive things.
Glad you're right. So we're going to move away from the doom and gloom, right? So we have identified a lot of the unhealthy things, the results, the consequences, right? Which is something we need to do. We need to be aware of it. And then, okay, great. Now, what do we do about it, right? We have to figure out a way to come up with the healthy coping skills. And there are so many things we can do. And we're not even going to have enough time to talk about everything here, but we're going to try and focus on some things in here. I'll go through the list here and we'll talk about them. Taking a time out, okay? This certainly can help. I mean, if you feel like you're in a bad space and you feel, anger and frustration and you want to, rip your, throw your phone or rip your computer or, and throw it, take a time out, take a step away. That's one of the things, that's one of the advantages actually of being at home. Is that you do have the ability to step away from your desk, get a glass of water, go to the bathroom, take a break. So take that time out, take a deep breath, count down from 10 to 0 as you breathe deeply. And, that's taking a time out. Family check-in. So I would recommend, okay, because you have the ability, you have the benefit if you live in a home with family and you have people, if you have a lot of people in your home, you have a support network right there, right? And we need to take advantage of that. Everybody needs to watch each other. We need to support each other. So what I would recommend is once a day, pick a time where everyone's available, everyone, right? No excuses. This is the time the family meets to check in. And everybody, you got to be honest. We got to, what's going on in your life? How was your day? Anything happening? If you don't tell, if you don't say anything, if you don't tell anybody, then nobody's going to know, and unfortunately a big part of, this mental health and having this depression and anxiety, a big part of it is it does kind of put you in denial that you have even a problem and you have to put your head down and take care of it yourself. You don't want to bother anybody else with it. Right. But we need to get over that stigma. And so the family check-in, I think, is a really good tool to use. And it just opens the line of communication and it's more togetherness. You can even be over dinner. I mean, making a family dinner and turning the TV off, turning the radio off. I mean, I remember growing up for myself, we used to have family dinner every night. You couldn't have anything on. TV had to be off no matter what was going on, right? I think that art has definitely been lost. I hope some of you still do it. But anyway, okay. Positive structure and time management. I think I mentioned this before because we are in disarray. Our regular routine has been shot. So we need to find a way to come up with, our own structure. If you do work at home now or you're going to school at home, there's no reason why you can't get up like you're going to school or going to work, right? There's no reason why you can't, take a shower and, get dressed and put your makeup on, do your hair, whatever, put nice clothes on and eat a good meal for breakfast. Time management is also a big thing, right? You got to make sure you're taking care of that. So positive structure becomes that's why that, family check-in, it's at a certain time every day. So that can become part of that structure. And maybe there's a family game night or something, or a family, a time of, something like that, something to that effect, or movie night or something to that effect. Seeking support from the community. There's plenty of resources out there, guys, and we know that, but you have to be able to ask for help and reach out, right? Right, fringe agencies, professionals, and schools. I'm sorry, there was some feedback there. But yeah, I mean, in your schools, obviously you have school counselors, teachers, you have your parents, you have your siblings, professionals like us. We're out here in the community, right? And all you got to do is reach out, and we're here for you. So don't be afraid to seek support. There's plenty of resources out there. Follow up with your doctors. Of course, if you're seeing doctors, self-care, right? We talk about, are we eating healthy, right? Are we sleeping, right? I mean, sometimes we tend to stay in our rooms. We isolate in the dark. We're on the dark web, or we're, playing video games till 4 a.m. and we got to be up in 2 hours because school starts, Those are unhealthy habits that are going to create a lot of, a lot of the things that we've already talked about in the earliest slides, right? We have to get a good night's sleep, a healthy good night's sleep. We have to eat healthy, exercise, go on walks, take care of yourself, do the things that make you happy. You like to, go on walks. You like to watch movies. If you like to play basketball, then, go to a basketball court where there's nobody else there and with the ball and you can shoot. Acceptance. This is a big one. If we don't accept that there's a problem, then we're not, going to get help for it, right? So we also need to accept what is, and focus on the things that we can change, right? We have to accept that, the virus is here. It's not going away tomorrow, right? We have to accept that, school is the, work and, people, it's the new normal is the new normal for a while. And if we, if we're waking up every day thinking that that's going to change tomorrow, that can create a lot of problems for us, a lot of that stress and anxiety. So acceptance of the things that are, focus on the things that we can change. So in other words, if I lost my job, right? Well, instead of thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? I lost my job. I don't have, I'm not going to be making money. Well, let's look at it on the other side. What are the benefits of that? It's an opportunity is what it is. You have an opportunity, right? To pursue something else. Maybe you didn't like your job, or maybe, so let's look at it as an opportunity to try and better ourselves, finding that purpose and meaning, right? So, the whole point of this is that when we're in our negative space and our negative thinking, we want to challenge that negative thinking. And to, another one that I have there is gratitude, which I skipped over, right? Which is, if we tend to focus a lot on the negatives and things that we don't have in life and all the problems that are going on. And yeah, we, as a human nature, we tend to focus on that, right? Well, gratitude, this is a really good tool to use on a daily basis, right? And it helps us to retool our thinking and start to think about, what? Yeah, things are bad, but I'm alive. I got a whole roof over my head. I eat today. I got food, shelter, clothing. Let's start with the basics and then, move it from there, right? Always look to see what you do have instead of what you don't have. That's a really good coping skill to use to challenge that negativity. Yeah, you got to be creative, right? We have to be creative at home, developing all these activities and games and charades and Pictionary. I mean, whatever it is. I mean, there's plenty of books that you can look up and that have good ideas, creative ideas for family games at home. Take classes online or go back to school. I mean, you have an opportunity to do some things that you probably didn't have opportunity to do if this wasn't happening. Mindfulness activities, right? Trying to stay in the moment, right? We talked about breathing techniques. If we're in a really bad space, we want to do that deep breathing. There's some more advanced mindfulness activities such as meditation and yoga, giving yourself positive self-affirmations. Don't beat yourself up, right? So we have to, that negative self-talk, like, damn, I'm an idiot, I'm a moron, I lost my job, oh my God. You know what? So we have to stop beating ourselves up, okay? Paying it forward, helping somebody else, that always brings us out of our own doom and gloom, brings us out of our own head. When we help somebody else and they appreciate it, that makes us feel good, doesn't it? Journaling, get a diary, write in a book every day. What's happening in your life? And don't focus on the negatives, focus on the positives. Like, hey, I'm going to take a new class, or I played a game. I had a lot of fun today. It's about like the glass half full, half empty approach, right? We have to focus on that glass being half full instead of half empty.
David, if I could add just
yes, please go ahead, Crystal.
Ideas. Going back to the gratitude list, certainly, as much as possible, and I know that it's really hard, try to focus on the positives. Be honest with your kids. Explain to them what's going on. Make sure that the information you're providing certainly is age appropriate, but be honest with them. Share your feelings with them. They're scared. It might make them feel good to know that you're scared too. Give yourself a break. This is hard. This is hard stuff. This is the unknown. So as David said, don't beat yourself up. Set boundaries. This is especially important for children. Although they may rebel against the boundaries, they do take comfort in it. Share house responsibilities, model the behavior that you want to see in your children. Give advance notice, especially so many things are uncertain right now that if you have children, it's good to give as much advance notice if there's going to be transitions, even leaving the house. Again, it's just that safety, that security, that knowing what's going to happen next. Listen to each other, listen to your children. We go through our day, prior to COVID, you go through your day and, you're hearing one another, but you're not really listening. And this is a really important time to listen to one another. Choose your battles. Parents, this is a difficult time with all that's going on, and I'm sure siblings are getting on each other's nerves, and maybe there's some behaviors that you'd rather not see, but pick and choose your battles. And be patient with the children, and be patient with yourself. This is hard stuff, folks, and all of the things that David talked about and the things that I mentioned are helpful. If these are things that you've never done before, it might seem a little odd, something out of character for you, but it's practice and it's doing it every day. And, getting your children, used to the idea of taking a time out. Timeout doesn't have to be a bad thing in this case. Timeout can be a good thing. So again, if you do these things, your children might see that, these things are helpful, engage in them as well. Okay, go ahead, David.
Okay, so we'll move to the next slide. We kind of talked about a lot of this stuff, making a plan, getting organized already. One other thing I wanted to add to what Crystal was saying is for parents and for kids, right? If you're noticing, and then we talked about this earlier, but if you're really noticing significant changes in behavior, your kids, they're isolating longer in their rooms, and they're Do you see irritability, anger, acting out? They're not eating as much, things like that. Be proactive. Don't wait. Don't wait for them to come to you to say, hey, I'm something wrong, right? Be proactive, and, you can go ahead and look at go to what websites are they going to? We can check the history. Who are they? Are there different friends that they're hanging out with that they haven't been hanging out with? And who are you hanging out with? So don't be afraid to be proactive with your kids and ask those tough questions. And I know they're tough. But, it's important, and, because kids are not going to, just come out and give us that information. We have to pry a little bit. Other ideas I did have, family outings, going on walks or hikes are also a good idea too. But that daily schedule is really important, that structure, as we talked about. Okay, and now we're going to move forward with Crystal in the Wheel of Wellness.
The wheel. The wheel. Okay, so in keeping with the, positive thought and behavior patterns and the issue of self-care, we have for you the Wheel of Wellness. And as you can see, it covers all various parts of life: spiritual, career, intellectual, physical, creative, environmental, financial, emotional, and social. And as you can see to the right, there's a brief description of each of those. So why we do this exercise is to help work on balance. Because it's very important, especially during a time like now. So what we'd like you to do is just to take a moment, and again, as you can see, using a scale of 0 to 5, 0 meaning not satisfied, 5 being very satisfied, place, think of numbers next to each of these sections in terms of, how you think you're doing with that area of your life. In other words, maybe financial, you're a 5, but spiritually you're a 1. So, okay, maybe I need to work on that spiritual part of my life. Okay, so we'll just give everybody a chance to take a look at that, and we'd be interested to see some input in terms of what areas you feel you need to work on.
So while they're working on that, Crystal, I think we do have a couple of questions on the chat room. You want to take the first one there?
Okay, I need to. Okay, here is this. Okay. Just curious, which age groups have been most adversely affected by the COVID-19 quarantine? Well, as has been said, it seems to be the older population. Originally, that was how it looked, but as we've seen as time has gone on, everyone is able to get it. I mean, of all ages, unfortunately, even, infants. So, but again, I still think it's those who are older and those obviously with pre-existing conditions.
Okay. There seems to be another question there, which I guess I'll take this one. It says, any tips for families to remain positive and connected as the holiday season approaches? Not everyone in the extended family is necessarily on the same page about COVID safety. This is a great question. We do have the holiday season approaching, and we do want to be connected with family. But yeah, it's an individual choice, I guess. When you're going to visit family, we've seen a lot of those stories where people go to birthday parties and family gatherings and it becomes like a COVID spreader. So be careful, is what I would say. I tell you what, what we do in our family, we have holidays coming up, and, we do a Zoom. We do a family Zoom. My family kind of lives in a lot of different areas of the country, but it's great. I tell you, it's not ideal, obviously, but a family Zoom is a great idea for the holidays. If you really don't feel safe getting in the car and going to somebody's house and not knowing, if they're, if it's clean in there, if everybody who has it, who doesn't have it, right? So everybody, even during the meal, everyone can show what everyone cooked each other. So that's something we can do. There's another question there for you, Crystal, about the wheel.
Okay, is balancing the wheel meaning that ideally all areas should be 3s or all 5s? Well, what you're looking for is, that there's some consistency in your numbers. In other words, again, if you have intellectual, physical, creative, you have those 3 are 1s, spiritual's a 3, social's a 5, emotional's a 5, financial's a 4. The 1s are going to be what you are going to want to focus on and try to make more time for, to work on. Again, there's never going to be a perfect balance, and there's always going to be things that are going to happen that are going to throw you off balance. But again, it's just having self-awareness and making time for the self-care so that you can have that balance. It's the whole mind-body connection that's really important.
Yeah, so it's like it's a process, right? The wellness wheel is a process, and it's, you could do it, a check-in on the wheel on a weekly basis, because the numbers in each of those areas could change every week or every day, so it's like a self-exploration or a self-reflection on what's actually going on in your life. And yeah, do you want to be 5s in all the areas? Of course you do, but that's not, obviously not going to happen. Like, you could be really good in all those areas, and all of a sudden you lost your job, so that career went from a 5 to a 1 or a 0, right? So things happen quickly in life, and we need to adjust and adapt, and that's why this wheel is a good thing to do on a regular basis, to get a good feel of where you are as a self-reflection piece. There's another question there I think is also better suited for Crystal to answer.
Okay. Do you have any ideas to support virtual play dates? The children miss their friends, but I would love to find virtual activities, crafts, or something a little different. Yeah, this is certainly a tough one, and I've heard, a lot of the children talk about missing their friends, and a lot of parents trying to figure out what to do. You can, there are some classes that are online, as we talked about before, maybe having all the friends join in together and engage in a cooking class, or, maybe do a Zoom and everybody agrees, okay, today we're all, the 5 of us friends are going to make chocolate chip cookies, and, what funny shapes can you make? Things like that, or, I'm trying to think of, just different art activities. Let's all make butterfly pins today, and, who's going to have the best butterfly pin, and, who can we give them to? Who can we send them to? And that's another great idea too for children, by the way. And I actually know a student who did this, is to, in terms, it's kind of like paying it forward, is maybe the children, you can ask them, is there something you'd like to do for someone else? So maybe there's a nursing home, and maybe your child or children want to make special cards and for them, and you can put them in a big envelope and mail them to a local nursing home or something like that. And it can make, them feel good. It makes the person receiving the cards feel good. So those types of things I think are good to do. Hopefully that helps. David?
Yes. Looks like, Brittany likes the wheel. That's good.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany. Also, there's another question here. How would you advise redirecting self-care away from being a procrastinating excuse? So that's a great question, right? See, procrastination, I talked about obstacles to change a little bit earlier in the presentation, right? Procrastination is one of the big ones, right? Putting things off. And we can get stuck in a rut, right? We can get stuck in a rut. And that's why I said it's important to get up every day with meaning and purpose, and taking a shower and getting dressed. If we don't do that stuff and we sit around in our, shorts and a t-shirt or sweats, and we lay around, watching, Price is Right all day or something like that, we tend to get into this negative, flow. And then we tend to put things off. I'll take care of that tomorrow. So we need to find, that's a great question. We need to find ways to overcome the procrastination. And one of the good ways to do that is to think about, those things that you have a passion about, those things that maybe you've been putting off for a while. So yeah, I've been wanting to take this cooking class forever. Take it, don't wait, anything you have a passion for that you've been waiting to do, just do it, All right, we have another question from Nicole.
Well, I just wanted to add to that, David.
Oh, go ahead, Crystal. Yeah.
Just because I myself am also a lover of yoga pants, and the temptation to be in the yoga pants on a daily basis is wonderful, right? Who doesn't love their yoga pants? But as David was talking about, that funk and that mood, and so on some days, maybe even though you're not leaving the house, maybe kind of dress up a little bit more for work. Also think about your environment and the children's environment, where they're doing the schooling, and where you're working from. Make sure, the space is, a place that you can concentrate. And so I would definitely look at your environment too, to help out. And David, what was it you said before?
Well, yeah, I don't want to get too, theoretically technical with everybody today, but if anybody out there has ever taken Psychology 101 in college, right, about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And it's the 5 levels of the pyramid. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but at the top of the pyramid, there's this concept called self-actualization, right? And self-actualization basically is described as, every day you're continuing to strive and achieve for your full potential. And that's what we're striving for here with this wellness wheel, right? We're looking for wellness in all these areas, and we're always looking to strive and achieve. So there's another question there. You want to take that one, Crystal?
Okay. With so much unknown about when or how this will end, how can we best support young kids from developing permanent anxiety over this situation? Example, fearful of groups, social interaction, etc. That's a good question. And this gets back to things that David and I mentioned before, those family check-ins, the listening, looking for the signs that we talked about earlier. And if you start to see, again, a pattern of behavior, where your younger one, seems like the anxiety is on a daily, and it seems to be getting worse as time goes on, then I would definitely, contact a local professional, and, get some feedback on that. And maybe some therapy sessions would be helpful. It's a hard time, but I would say just be as loving and supportive as you can. And if your child's coming to you with something, and if you're able to just, stop working and just focus on your child and give them, the little bit of time, because, even as adults, if we're left alone with our thoughts too long, and we can't express how we're feeling, the feeling's going to intensify. So just like adults do, children need to process. So definitely I would, do a lot of checking in, and, how you doing today? And if you see some anxiety happening, what are you feeling, or what are you nervous about? Let's talk about it, and let's talk about how we can work on it. And a lot of the things that David spoke about earlier in terms of the coping skills, if you will, a lot of those things children can do. Children can journal. Journaling is a great thing for children to do. And even if they're not at the writing age, they can draw pictures daily. So I would definitely, engage them in some of those practices, and maybe even do them together. If you're feeling your own anxiety and your child's having anxiety, doing things together like yoga or shooting hoops, what have you, that's a good time to do that together.
I think it's also too about being proactive and consistent. In other words, if you're doing that family check-in, do it every day at the same time. Don't do it today and not do it again until next week. And it is about the wellness model over the medical model, because yes, anxiety and these things can progress over time and get worse over time if there's nothing done about it, right? That's why it's so important to be proactive and see what's going on and nip it in the bud, so to speak. And do all these things that Crystal was talking about. One thing, while you guys are maybe working on your wellness wheel and whatever, I just wanted to mention this one concept, which is I call it the wellness bank, right? And it's kind of like a savings account, right? Where you deposit money in, you don't want to be taking more money out than you're putting money in, right? So the wellness bank works the same way, right? Every day we want to be doing things that are going to add to our wellness bank on a daily basis consistently, so that we have a savings account in our wellness bank. And the more we do, the more wellness we have, right? The more of the coping skills that we talked about, right? And when we start to pull back and we start to do those things that are unhealthy, we start to isolate, we start to lose our connectivity, we start to not eat well, not sleep well. And that's when we start making withdrawals from our wellness bank, and that's not what we want to be doing. So it's kind of a good concept to think of it that way, is just every day, what am I doing today to make a deposit into my wellness bank? So, okay.
I was just wondering if anybody wanted to share, what they discovered, doing the wellness wheel. I was wondering if anybody had any aha moments in terms of areas they think they need to work on,
or if anybody wanted to share their personal experience with what's been going on with COVID with them, how have they been impacted by it. We have a few minutes left here, but I think okay.
Well, we'll just go to the next slide and we'll keep an eye out.
Yeah. Questions? I think we're doing that now. We want to go to the next slide after that?
Sure.
All right. So resources. This is all the resources that we put on this page here. There's so many resources out there. We picked the ones that we felt were really important. There are some resources that are there are local, that are state, that are federal. The Office of Addiction Services and Supports used to be known as OASAS. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, that's SAMHSA. They have great information on there, supports. They have publications, National Institute on Mental Health, the Office of Mental Health, or OMH, NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They all have their own websites, guys. They're all a wealth of source of knowledge and information. They also provide, connections to treatment programs as well. You can read the rest of those there. The New York State Coalition Against Domestic Violence, New York State Office of Children and Family Services, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and the Mayo Clinic. Right, those are a few of the ones that we picked out, but
there are so many more, and most, if not all of them, also have COVID information on them. So you could probably get some good information on that as well on those sites. Oh, thank you, Patrick. It says Patrick's little note. All right, Patrick's on the job. Okay, so all right, so we talked about a lot of things, and a lot of it was pretty intense. So not everyone likes to post questions online and so forth. So if you have any further questions or concerns that you wish to ask privately, please feel free to contact us via email or phone, and we'll be happy to help in any way that we can. And yeah, so our, final slide is, we're all in this together, right? Strength and community. Be there for each other. Take comfort in one another. And that's how we're going to get through this.
And I think, guys, also, please, I think there's going to be a questionnaire to fill out. Let us know how the presentation was. If you wanted more of something or less of something, or something in there you didn't really feel was helpful.
Or David should wear a different color shirt. Anything.
Yeah, anything. I know my forehead's a little shiny, but please let us know so we can. We'd love to get it better for the next time or whatever. But thank you so much again to Liz and Patrick and the Alliance for Safe Kids for letting us do this.
It looks like, Patrick, there's a question here. There's going to be a follow-up email. Can they include the wellness wheel? Patrick, I think, can respond to that.
And then they're asking if there's going to be a part 4, so I guess Liz can respond to that one.
So it's Patrick and Liz. Oh,
yeah.
There we go. All right, yes, they're going to try and add a part 4.
Oh, there's Liz.
Liz! We can't hear you, Liz.
Hey, really, truly will. You were both amazing, and I just can't thank you enough for volunteering your time to the community this evening, because you just shared so much vital information and provided wonderful resources. And you mentioned, you encourage the participants to take advantage of community resources. And I just wanted to make everyone aware that the Alliance for Safe Kids, in collaboration with the town of Yorktown, put together a resource guide called the Yorktown Together COVID-19 Resource Guide. It's a virtual guide. It's interactive. It is housed on the Alliance for Safe Kids website. It's on the town website. It's attached to QR codes that our town officials have, and the Yorktown Police Department have. We've shared it widely. And what really makes this guide unique is that not only are we offering information on various topics relating to COVID-19 in terms of local, state, and federal resources, but also we have links to help families find some educational tools, substance abuse support groups, mental health support, and opportunities for thoughtful service. But what really makes it so special is that we get input from all sectors in the community as to what information to provide in this guide, and it's updated frequently. So I just really hope that the community takes advantage of it. And a link to the guide will actually be included in that follow-up email. And I want everyone to realize that Crystal and David shared a list of very important resources, and we put that list together for the participants, so they'll receive that as well. They'll receive that in the email that will also accompany the video of the recording. So another thing that will come in that email is a link to the registration page for our first annual walk, #WalkTheTalk, and that's happening during the entire month of October. The walk is designed to provide ASK with some much needed support, as our main source of funding expired in October 2018. And all ages are encouraged to register, and for the whole month, we will all be able to walk safely wherever, whenever, and with whomever we like. And that's fun to do, to get out with your family and have some of that family time, maybe, or with friends, to feel connected and to just get out and do something safe. But the other component of the Walk the Talk part is really very interesting, because we are going to be offering webinars, weekly webinars throughout the month of October. We're going to have Ask Talks that will be shared via social media. We'll have a Spotify playlist that's being put together by volunteers, so that'll be fun to kind of listen to and as you're out there walking. And we're also going to have 4 pop-up walks during the month of October that will be at areas in Yorktown that are frequented by walkers, like Railroad Park, the track down in town, the JV Mall, and the track up at Granite Knolls. So more details, you will find more details if you click through on that registration link, and I hope to see all of you in October as we walk the talk. And again, Crystal and David, thank you so very much for donating your time and sharing your expertise with us this evening. And thank you to everyone that took the time to be here and participate. So I wish all of you and your families good health.
Yes, everyone, be safe and stay
Thank you.
healthy. Thank you.